question is to the Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Birmingham. It was revealed publicly today that when Liberal MP Bridget Archer told Mr Morrison's office that she was considering voting against the cashless debit card, 2 senior members of his staff literally stood over her in her office. Ms Archer spoke against the cashless welfare card legislation, then abstained from voting. Ms Archer has said that she felt bullied, threatened and intimidated by these staffers for almost 2 weeks. Is Mr Morrison aware of who the staff are?
The order. The Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Birmingham.
Thanks, Mr President, and I thank Senator McCarthy for the question. The member for Bass is somebody who I consider to be a good friend, and I know is a powerful advocate for her community, and she brings strong principles and strong opinions to this place, like many on this side of the chamber and all across the chamber, brings strong principles and strong opinions in their service. Now, like all parties, obviously, when people are looking to differ, then discussions are had ideally around those differences. In our side, ultimately, as Ms Archer did on that occasion, she was free as a Liberal Party MP to not necessarily vote.
Minister.
On relevance, the question is directly on: is Mr Morrison aware of who the staff are?
I have been listening to the Minister. I'm not prepared to rule that he was not being directly relevant. I'm listening carefully. Minister, you have the call.
Thanks, Mr President. As I was saying, all parties you would expect to have those discussions. In the Labor Party, if you were having such a discussion, it would of course be an expulsion discussion. In our party, if you're having such a discussion—
Minister, resume your seat. Senator Wong on the point of order. On a point of order.
It is a point of direct relevance, and these are Senator McCarthy asked about public reports that Ms Archer said she felt bullied, threatened and intimidated by Prime Ministerial staffers prior to the vote. So I put it to you that a reference to what happens after a vote is actually not relevant to the question. This is about activity or alleged behaviour by Prime Ministerial staff in the lead-up to a vote.
Senator Canavan on the point of order.
Thank you, Chair. Just on the point of order, that's not what the Minister was saying. He was clearly talking about the discussions that would happen before a vote, as he mentioned, an expulsion discussion. That would be the case in the Labor Party. The question clearly goes to the appropriateness of discussions around a vote, and therefore bringing in how that would be dealt with in other political parties with other senators and members of this place is clearly relevant to that question.
Senator Wong, order. Order. Senator Wong has had the opportunity to bring the minister back to the question. I'm listening carefully to the answer. I cannot direct a minister how to answer a question. Minister, you have the call.
Thanks, Mr President. The point purely that I was making is that robust discussions are had in this place. They're had right here in the chambers about people's position in relation to bills and votes. They're had in offices across the building about people's positions in relation to bills and votes. Only one side of politics has a structural threat in place as part of their rules that says very clearly in terms of what the threat is: if you go against us, you're out of here. That is not what happens in our party, but of course discussions are had, Mr President.
Order. I will not give Senator McCarthy the call until there is order in the chamber. Order. Senator Gallagher. Senator McCarthy, you have the call for a supplementary question.
With allegations of bullying, threats and intimidation of one of his female MPs by his own staff having now been made public, what action has Mr Morrison taken?
Minister.
Thanks, Mr President. Mr President, Mr Morrison has made clear his respect for the member for Bass, his support for her, and very much his ongoing engagement and discussions with her.
Order.
Once again, as has been the case through many of the questions I've faced today, and it's not uncommon, what is put to me as assertions or direct quotes are not always completely direct quotes that apply.
Order.
Mr President, as I've made clear, discussions you would expect happen between party leaders and their members or senators and their officers. These are commonplace across the building. Of course, you can have strong disagreements. They should be done respectfully. That's the way the Prime Minister always expects them to be conducted.
Order. Senator McCarthy, a second supplementary question.
Mr President, Brittany Higgins, Grace Tame, Christine Holgate, Bridget Archer, Julia Banks, Gladys Berejiklian and Zoe Salucci McDermott. Why have all of these women publicly complained about Mr Morrison's behaviour and attitudes towards women?
Minister.
Thanks, Mr President. Mr President, I don't accept the premise of all of that aspect of the question. I know there are many names who mentioned there, many individuals who have been very courageous in public statements that they've made and who have played a role during the course of this year, in particular in relation to driving some of the change that we've discussed and that the Prime Minister has discussed very clearly this week. The Prime Minister has made clear that change is necessary in the Parliament to ensure we have the reforms that are necessary, for this place to operate effectively in the future. But, Mr President, there's all manner of conduct that could do with improvement at times, and we want to make sure those reforms occur to drive that change. But frankly, conduct elsewhere in terms of the type of smearing, the type of scaring and so on that those opposite like to engage in could also do with helping to lift. It's well, I reckon when you go out deliberately trying to scare Australia's pensioners, Senator Wong, when you go out trying to deliberately scare Australia's pensioners, as you like to do election after an election with Mediscare, pensioner scare, it's pretty obvious you're out to try to threaten or intimidate them
the
too.
time for the answer has expired.